The Omicron variant has forced many colleges and universities around the world back into remote learning. My next guest says that's a mistake. Emily Oster is an economics professor at Brown University. She wrote this month in The Atlantic that the decision to return to online learning reflects an outmoded level of caution, and it represents a failure of universities to protect their students' interests. And Professor Oster joins me now, live from Providence, Rhode Island. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So you have been super outspoken about the need to keep schools open. What do you see as the biggest consequences for shifting to online education for students?
So I think it varies a little bit with K-12 versus universities, but to sort of focus on the universities here, I think the issues for students in moving to online learning are cost to their mental health, are cost to their learning. College students are better than kindergartners at learning on Zoom, but it is not as good at learning as learning in person. And that on top of the fact that there is loneliness, there is isolation among these students. I think for all of those reasons, should be a strong push towards an in-person experience in college.
But now with Omicron, with so many teachers getting sick, with so many students getting sick, the online education aspect of it is actually helpful if your child is sick. So instead of quarantining at home for a week or more and not learning anything, online's better than nothing, right?
So I think we need to distinguish between should we be providing support for people who are home in quarantine in terms of distance learning the same way we would typically have done so before COVID. I think absolutely yes. Distinct from should we close schools. And I think even more than the question of should we close schools, there may be some periods of brief interruptions because of logistical things. Some of what I think many of us have become concerned about in the last few weeks is, for example, Flint, Michigan saying that schools are going to be virtual learning indefinitely. That is not where we need to be now, given the availability of vaccines and given how costly we know it is for kids to be out of school.
I want to focus a minute on the mental and emotional toll. Obviously the pandemic has put upon kids of all ages, even ones in high school and in college. And then we sort of add on the remote education aspect of it. How does that sort of make it worse?
We hear quite a lot about both the broad mental health impacts and the idea that somehow schools and closures of schools have contributed to this. I think there are still uncertainties about exactly how large those changes are. It's easier to measure test scores and to see the impacts of remote learning on test scores, which are quite bad. But to measure sort of impacts on mental health, I think is more challenging. Certainly, I will say, you talk to educators, they are hearing a lot from students about and experiencing a lot of what they see as the cost from the kind of disrupted school year last year.
Now, you've certainly earned your share of criticism, with one critic saying that you missed the mark on this latest Atlantic article, taking issue with your suggestion that institutions could simply mandate vaccinations. This critic saying that there are wider socio-political pressures. What do you say to that?
So first of all, many of the universities that have decided to go remote in these first weeks have already mandated vaccinations and boosters. So we're actually seeing much more in the way of closures among places that are pushing far in the direction of mandating, whereas we're not seeing closures so much in the places that have not mandated vaccines. So it's a little bit tricky there. But I also think the availability of vaccines in the wider community means that the costs of universities, the externalities of universities being open we should see them differently because everyone has access to vaccines, even if they choose not to take them.
There was also an article in Vox that I saw written by Anna North that examines how you've become kind of the symbol of the movement to reopen schools. And she says you're an Ivy League economist with no authority whatsoever over public policy. What's your reaction to your influential but polarizing role?
I think that I early on, even as early as the fall of 2020, was making the case that schools could be open safely. I think that case now is one you see very widely made by a variety of policymakers, epidemiologists, educators, and so on. I think that's a sort of pretty centrist view. At this point, I think I got some criticism for saying that early on, even though I think ex post actually that turned out to be a much more mainstream view. At the time, I was the person collecting the best data on these questions. And so I think that I had some authority to talk about it. But of course, when you take stands like that, Sometimes people disagree with them, and that's part of what comes with trying to say the things that you think are supported by the data and are going to serve children.
Well, plenty of people are certainly talking about you, both criticizing and agreeing with you. So just want to put that out there. There is a lot of agreement out there as well. Emily Oster, professor of economics with Brown University, thanks so much.
Thank you.